to be jolly, fa la 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 la.
After vacationing across America and throughout Europe,
Take it, Russ.
this holiday season, the Griswolds are going to play it safe.
Clark, we're stuck under a truck.
Oops.
Hello, welcome to the Damian and Devlin show, and this is our review of Christmas Vacation.
Oh wait, wrong movie.
The 1989 comedy starring, directed by Jeremiah Chechik.
Yes, you got it right.
I got it
finally.
right. Starring Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, Randy Quaid, and a whole lot of other people.
What's the name of that hot woman in it?
I don't know. I think she was a model.
Oh man, she was hot.
I don't know.
She was hot.
All right. Well,
More
we
on
know
her
it.
later.
Yeah, well, apparently a positive, I'm going to guess. Anyhow, for those of you who have not seen this movie, this is the second sequel to the movie Vacation,
Holiday Road.
which was not one of your positives in the first one, so you must have been very happy that it wasn't a Christmas version of it.
Absolutely.
Anyhow, after the success of Vacation, they went to Europe with European Vacation. Well, we skipped over that one. We might go back to that. We decided to do National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation because it has become a classic. It did really good in theaters, and I remember seeing it in theaters back in '89. And it's
Oh my gosh.
just like the original Vacation. John Hughes actually wrote a short story about his summer thing, and he also happened to have one for Christmas. So after the success of European Vacation, Warner Brothers said, please do another one. And he said he would have only done it, but he actually had the short story. And it became a classic. In fact, it did well at the box office, but over the years, this has become up there with like White Christmas, It's a Wonderful Life, Christmas Story.
Not
People
Black
love
Christmas?
it. Nah, that's a
Not
more
Black
chosen
Christmas?
feel. This is Damian's first time seeing this film,
Yeah.
so let's see what his initial thoughts are for.
I've seen a lot of clips from this movie. I mean, how could you not have that? Especially Clark Griswold's little freak out there. I've seen that many times, and I've heard things from this movie. I mean, you quote things from this movie all the time.
Yeah, nipply.
It's a bit nipply out there.
Yeah.
Things like that. So I know of this movie, and I was really excited in the summer when we actually watched Vacation so that I could understand like who these characters actually were when we got to Christmas Vacation. It's called Christmas Vacation, right?
National Lampoon's
All right, yeah,
Christmas.
'cause
I always forget the National Lampoon, but
It
it's
kind of
Christmas.
confused me. The name kind of confused me, Christmas Vacation, because I assumed it was going to be another road trip movie.
Yeah, this is the only one in the series so far that has not been a road trip. But I guess
Yeah.
everybody else was on vacation.
As well,
That's what I'm thinking.
Clark has like 2 days of vacation this whole movie because you see him at work all the time. So the name of the movie kind of confused me, but overall it was all right. I felt it was pretty decent for what it was trying to do.
Yeah, I think the reason this movie resonates with so many people is because we can all relate to something in the movie, having relatives over, and I think they deal with lots of things. And I like that they deal with a whole bunch of things, everything from sledding to Christmas shopping to just dealing with relatives coming over, lights, just every little nuance they play with in that. So did you want to go into your positives?
Well, yeah,
Or-
no, you go ahead and start. It's
Want
the
me to
season
start?
of giving.
Okay. That is probably one of my big positives of this movie. I think the best thing in this movie is still Clark Griswold. Chevy Chase's portrayal of this character, and it's a very different character than he usually plays, but it's the heart of Clark Griswold that I think makes Christmas Vacation work. Because although this movie has some very funny scenes in it, it's those little sentimental moments, and the fact that you're always rooting for Clark, and you know that point's going to come where he's just going to snap, but you want him to have, because all he ever wants to do in these movies is to make it perfect. And as somebody who sometimes goes a little over the top, I can relate to Clark, because you want him to win because he's an everyman, and And I think they show that really well in this movie. In fact, I think they have a little more heart in this movie than the original Vacation. Though I personally think I still like the original Vacation just a touch better, but I think that's just because it was the first one I ever saw. So it makes sense that that has a freshness to it.
I'll agree with you on that. I think I was going through the movie because you said people either like Christmas Vacation just as much, or they say that it's a little bit better than just Vacation. And I found myself not agreeing with that. So I'm glad that you say that you like Vacation a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because I felt the same way. I liked the original one just a little bit better.
Yeah. And I like, as I said, I do like this movie. And the more I watch it, I like it. But there are moments, but we'll get that into the negatives. Positives, it's fun. It does some really fun things that you don't expect. It also goes a little crazier than the first one.
Very much so.
Just stuff like the sledding sequence is more cartoonish. And I'm not saying they didn't have cartoonish, but they kind of were based a little more in realism in the first movie. Like, as real as you go in a comedy. But this one really took it to the next level. I think Beverly D'Angelo, she doesn't really get to do as much, but she still gets to be his support. And I like that, even though she gets mad at him sometimes, I love that she still tries to support him. And even the kids, know he gets crazy, but they kind of stick up for him, like in the moment. I love that they don't just rag on him all the time. They always eventually get around to, well, we have a pretty good dad. We worry about him. But one of my things, I think the movie really picks up the pace is when Randy Quaid's cousin Eddie shows up. They only had a small part in the first one, and it was really memorable because I think everybody has one of those relatives or a friend that always says everything inappropriate, doesn't seem to get jokes, takes everything like, oh, you're just, if you insult him, he almost takes it like a compliment.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think they were smart to actually increase his role in this, because as much as you want to strangle him, he does the role so well. Like, and how they introduce him in this movie is so awesome, because you almost forget that he was in the original movie, and then they kind of introduce him, and there he is. He just shows up. Just like if one day you open up the door and a relative shows up and announces, we're staying for several weeks.
No, you ain't.
Yeah, and Randy Quaid does a great job. I know Randy Quaid's got some questionable stuff going on, but he's had some good roles in some movies, and I think his cousin Eddie, that still didn't make me want to go out to see the TV movie that they did, Christmas Vacation 2, where it's all about Eddie and his family.
Oh, good Lord.
That would be too much, because again, the heart of this movie is Chevy Chase's Clark Griswold, and without that, I can't even imagine. I just don't want to see Eddie that much. But Eddie's used really well in this movie, and they really know. Some of the other bit parts, they're used just enough. It would have been too much, but like the sweet lady, I forgot her name, Bethany? I think
one
it was
that wraps
Bethany.
all of her personal belongings.
Yeah, she wraps her. Bethany, who I found out recently is the original voice of Betty Boop. She makes me laugh so much because we all have that one relative that's just a little out there.
Yep.
And she's just like, hello. Should I say hello? Merry Christmas to everybody. Merry Christmas, everybody.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
And I enjoy that voice a little too much. Anyhow, those are mostly my positives. It's a feel-good movie, and, if you don't want to watch something as, maybe, as mind-blowing as like A Christmas Carol or It's a Wonderful Life, I think Christmas Vacation offers an alternative.
Yeah. Like I said, it's pretty decent for what it tries to do. I think I talked about how much I did like the character of Clark Griswold back in the original.
Yeah.
And that still rings true, because yes, he's just your everyday, average Joe guy trying to do right by his family, and he gets these fantasies that everything's gonna be perfect. And I love the line between him and his wife where she goes like, you've done this all the time, it never turns out the way that you want.
Yeah.
And he goes, when have I ever done that? And she starts listing off thing after thing after thing after thing. I know I'm taking your catchphrase there, but thing after thing is just mentioned. And he's like, all right, good night, honey. And he's just so pure-hearted, and I love the aspect of that. And I felt that pretty much almost all of the characters did a really good job. Like the in-laws, the kids, Cousin Eddie. There were a few characters that I felt were just ridiculous, and I'll get those in my negatives. And I was like, why are we watching these people? But I will get into that in my negatives. I
have a question about what you think about. I think one of the reasons the movie does even better as it goes on is because as we're becoming kind of more detached from our families, I think a lot of people kind of just hope we're going to have a good... Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
And I think that's why this movie kind of is becoming more loved with each passing year.
Every Christmas, every holiday season, I hear people say, oh, I wish I could spend a good, nice Christmas with my family. And that's why I feel a lot of people flock to these kinds of movies. Not only Christmas Vacation, but like you said...
Christmas Story.
Yeah. It's a Wonderful Life, things like that. People flock to that because that's what they want. They want that sense of togetherness, that perfection, just like Clark Griswold wants. And I do agree. I think that's why these movies work so well, especially in this day and age. It was funny. The movie was very funny. I was laughing out loud several times throughout the movie, so it definitely gets a bonus for that. And I felt, again, the plot was really simple and well done. It got its point across. It did not have to be overly complicated or convoluted, which I really did appreciate. Now, my negatives. Number one negative of this movie is that we did not see enough of that hot woman.
Oh my God.
We needed more. We got an excellent shot of her in Clark's pool, but there needed to be more of that, because if you think back to the original Vacation, that other hot woman was all throughout the movie.
Yeah.
All throughout. Where was she? I wanted him to invite her over for dinner. I wanted more.
How you relate to Clark Griswold is that scene where she's coming out of the pool and you're just about to see her breasts, and then suddenly, it's interrupted by a family member. And I like that that was your scene that you're like, I know exactly what Clark's feeling right now. I need a few moments to myself.
Yeah.
To think of the true meaning of Christmas, of course, is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
So that's a huge negative to me. There's not enough of her, because not only am I being facetious about it, but I feel like it could have added to the comedy. Because like when he first meets her in the department store, he plays up, oh, my wife is dead. Divorced. We're divorced. And I thought for sure he was going to, throw his regular Clark Griswold, I'm going to hit on you, but not actually kind of thing. And maybe, accidentally invite her to dinner or things like that. And I thought that would have been a perfect setup for something hilarious, but it just never happened.
And one of the best lines, can I take something out for you? And Clark's reaction is brilliant.
Yeah.
Proving that sometimes you don't even need dialogue to have one of the biggest laughs in the movie.
Yeah, his reaction was basically my reaction right there. I don't have a log. Well, to say that I do have a log, but not that kind of a log. Another negative of mine is just, as much as I hated hearing Holiday Road in the original movie, I felt like the music in this movie was just as forgettable.
No.
I don't remember anything about the music from this movie.
You don't like when they played the Papa when he's cleaning out the... I don't want to say the word because we're...
No, but there was just... Yeah, there were music. There was musical notes and numbers all over the place, but I couldn't remember any of them. The only one that's sticking out...
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Yeah,
at the end.
Don't
say why,
clever.
But yeah, it's
that
clever.
That one was clever, and the only other one is the Hawaii,
Melekemeki Maka is the thing.
Because I really like that song.
And you know what? I started hearing that song more and more after this movie.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe we can thank this movie for that, because it is a nice song, and I like it a lot, but the original soundtrack composed for this movie, it's forgettable. At least in my opinion, because I don't remember a thing from it.
I love the song Christmas Vacation, but before you move on to your negatives, the guy who did the composition, and I admit it's not a great composition, but comedies don't normally get that, Angelo Badalamenti. Later on that year, he would go on to more fame doing the Twin Peaks. You cannot think of two things more different. Twin Peaks, Christmas Vacation. This guy was doing it all.
I do like the Twin Peaks
There
theme.
you
I'll
go.
give it that.
Same guy. It's
yeah,
it blows
well,
my mind when I see
Even
it.
John Williams has had some
All
misses
right, all
every
right.
so often.
Go on with your negatives.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus, her whole character and whoever the actor
The
is that
boyfriend is.
she's like in a relationship with, completely useless. I felt like they were so just shoved in there.
Yeah.
And I really didn't enjoy any time that they were around or on screen. And yeah, I get it. They were trying to say, oh yeah, neighbors are annoyed and blah, blah, blah. But I really just didn't care. I honestly did not enjoy any scene that they were associated with. So they have to be a huge negative for me. And I agree with you. This movie did seem a little bit more over the top than the original Vacation. Now, I have not seen European Vacation, so I don't know how over the top that gets, if at all. But I remember the original one being a little zany, but still in the grounds of realism. And I'm glad you pointed out that whole like sledding scene.
That's the one that stands out
And
most.
it's ridiculous. I was like, what the hell am I watching? And not to mention just horrible green screens that go along with it too. So I'm like sitting there, like, why? Why did they choose to do this? So that brought it out for me too. Everything else though, it works as a movie.
I do have a couple of gripes about this movie. I do really love the movie, and I do love watching it at least once a year. Usually around Christmas.
Well, I would hope.
I will continue with the neighbors. I do admit that doesn't always work with me.
No.
But I understand what they're trying to do. It's not just the neighbors are annoying. They were trying to contrast how modern people celebrate, like we're minimalists. We do Christmas in a different way, and they were setting it with the fact that the Griswolds or Clark wants this old-fashioned family Christmas. They're basically trying to say what, kind of like, people that are just more trendy, like, we're not going to have a tree this year, or maybe we should have got a tree. I don't think it works, but I think that's what they were going for, because they could have just had any kind of neighbor be annoying, but they really bumped up the fact that these were like, not yuppies, but in that style.
Yeah,
I think yuppies
they reminded me, I know
past
this movie
that.
came out in '89, but they reminded me of today, modern day hipsters. That's what they reminded me
And
of.
I think they were playing the contrast. It doesn't always work. I also just found there were parts that seemed slow.
Yeah.
It wasn't even the emotional parts, because I actually liked that, but there are actually scenes that could have been tighter edited. And I just felt that there's a lot of lingering things, and like the light stuff was fun, but it goes on, and it just, I think it could have been more effective. So
Yeah.
I think some of the choices didn't always land. But overall, it's still an enjoyable movie, and that's pretty much all the negatives I have.
Yeah,
So not
I
too
mean, I
bad.
definitely would recommend it. It has become
Would
a
you
classic.
watch it again?
Probably not. Probably not. But I think it's one of those movies that has become such a classic, especially around Christmas time. And pretty much, I don't mean to sound rude here, but everybody that's older than me in your generation seems to have a fondness.
Sense of humor.
All right.
Oh, sorry,
We went
did you
two
say
completely
fondness?
different directions there. We can't script that, folks. We literally
Yes.
can't.
No, it was beautiful,
But-
actually.
But they seem to have a fondness for this movie. So I would definitely recommend checking it out, because you never know. You might enjoy it more than I did. I'm glad still that we are both in agreement that we like this one a little less than the original, because the original is truly magnificent. What are you giving this one, though?
I can't remember what I gave the original Vacation, but I think I'm going to give Christmas Vacation. Hell, it's the holiday season. 4.
I thought you were going to say 5 for a second.
No, 4.
And I
I'm going
literally-
to go 4, which could be exactly what I gave the other Vacation, but we're going with 4. I'm in the Christmas spirit.
I for sure heard 5.
No.
And I saw your life flash before
No.
my eyes, because I was going to be like, what?
What were you going to hit me? That's not very Christmassy.
It's the holiday season.
All
Spirit
right.
of giving.
So, what's your number?
2.5.
2.5.
2.5. It
Well,
was.
that's a huge success that we've learned from Damian.
I think I
mean,
gave the original 3, if I'm
I
not
think
mistaken.
so. 3.5.
This
I
one
think
gets a
you're in there.
2.5. It's still entertaining and enjoyable, but definitely not as good. Now, for next week, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. I'm going to give you a hint. Next week's video, to end our whole season off on, is actually hidden within this movie. So if you think you know what it is, go ahead and post it in the comments. Let us know.
Is it hidden in here, or you
No,
mean
in-
when you watch
in the
Vacation?
movie.
Okay,
in the
yes,
movie.
yeah.
It's hidden in the
Well,
movie.
people are probably looking. What are they going to watch?
I said in the movie.
Okay, sorry.
Jeez, no one ever listens to Damian. They only ever listen to
Never.
Devlin.
That's not true.
Yeah.
You have a fan club. I don't have one yet.
Yeah, my two people, myself and one other. It's probably you under a pseudonym. But thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate having you with us on this holiday vacation. Stay tuned and check us out next week for the season finale.
This year, let Chevy Chase light up your holidays. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
That thing had 9 lives. She just spent them all.
You crack up.